This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman as we go back now to our interview with Peter Schumann, founder of Bread and Puppet Theater, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary. You now have a new installation at the Queen's Museum, which is astounding. From the floor to the walls to the ceilings, almost every inch covered. It's all black and white, and it's called The Shatterer. Why The Shatterer?
When the first atomic bomb was exploded, Oppenheimer, the chief architect of that bomb and of that group of scientists, remembered a line from the Bhagavad Gita, and he happened to be a knowledgeable student of Sanskrit, so he knew the original. And that line goes like this: life, the splendor of 1,000 suns blazing all at once, resembling the exalted soul, is become death, the shatterer of worlds. So that sprang to his mind as the interpretation for what he had participated in building there. And I think it never went away from him. I think he suffered from remembering that line till the end of his days.
And so talk about The Shatterer, the kind of poets and the kind of puppets and the artwork. You did huge murals as well that you have made today.
The exhibit, which is really inspired by Jonathan Berger's insistence on me doing that, so he needs to get that credit. And also the museum, the Queen's Museum. I haven't had any exhibits in America, basically. I don't know, people don't want that kind of art.
What kind of art?
With political messages and with attacking and yelling at them. They want something more docile or more fashionable or whatever it is. And the exhibit has different routes in it. One route is Peasant Revolution, 14th, 15th, 15th, 16th century in Germany. Very important revolutions that never became revolution because of the reformers, because of Luther and Zwingli and so forth, who sided with the aristocrats against the peasants. The uprisings were tremendous, and they, in the Black Forest, in the Upper Rhine valleys, in Les Vosges, in France, Alsace, the uprisings were thousands of men and women, peasants who realized that with their pitchforks and hay rakes, they could rake these knights off their fancy horses and beat the top out of them and win the battles. And they did. They did win quite a few battles against those landowners, till the big reformers turned against them.
In The Shatterer, the exhibit at the Queen's Museum, a part of it is a library, your books. Why?
Well, because I make books all the time. At the printed matter thing, my son Max made that exhibit. He has, I think, 420 titles of books from those 50 years. It's all along I think we started making little books, as we made little books on the news. We took something out of the New York Times usually and made it into a little book, and then we went out with a cardboard box around the neck to Astor Place, which is a big move-around place for people going from one subway to the other, and we sold them one for 25 cents, two for 10 cents, three for 5 cents.
Don't you make comic books for your grandson?
Oh yeah, I make books for my grandchildren every year, for my kids too.
Why comics?
Oh, because life is comical, so that's what comes to mind. You know, you draw and you make stories, and They become comics.
So what do you think of this digital age when people are completely getting away from books and paper, and yet you still make part of your exhibit your library with real paper and real covers?
Yeah, I really love that fact that you can touch them, that you can turn them, that you, right in the Queen's Museum right now, I went in, I was baking outside at my little brick oven, and I went in to check out, because it was a kids' day, I went in to see how the kids would look at the exhibit, and they had closed off the library part, and asked them why. And they said, because one cover had come off of one of the books when the kids turned the pages. So I opened it, and we put a piece of tape on the thing. I mean, they are falling apart. That's okay. You know, they're books that they're not meant forever. They're meant for looking and leafing through, and they will be damaged. Yeah.
Do you think there's power in the internet?
Maybe, but I haven't discovered it because I don't have it. So I don't desire it.
You haven't logged on at all?
No.
Can you talk about the free art store in Vermont?
Well, it's we started doing cheap art. We called it cheap art in the 70s sometimes, and we just decided, let's make little cookie-sized paintings and take them in the streets and park the bus. So we invented a lot of sloganeering outside the bus. And then not just kids, but grown-ups came. And we sold stuff to 5 cents, 10 cents, affordable prices.
I know you don't like to log on, but look, here I went to Bread and Puppet, Cheap Art and Political Theater. Can you read this is in big letters here, the Cheap Art Manifesto?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we have quite a few of those. The White Cheap Art Manifesto. People have been thinking too long that art is a privilege of the museums and the rich. Art is not business. It does not belong to banks and fancy investors. Art is food. You can't eat it, but it feeds you. Art has to be cheap and available to everybody. Art is cheap. Hooray.
What do you still want to do? What do you still want to accomplish, Peter Schumann?
Well, I never did totally what I think I set out to do, the combining of the musics and the sculptures and the languages that are available when you do public address art. Are very challenging. Right now in the church, in the Chatterer show, we change the show every day. There's every day a new show. And that's the nature of it. So, we are not changing it because we feel it needs to be varied. We are changing it because we are still looking how to do it. And that's sort of the rest of puppetry. It's a huge field of ancient bulk, ancient festivals that are in there. The whole carnival is in there. The whole idea of carnival is in there. The whole history of sculpture is in there. The whole history of crazy poetry is in there, of nonsense. And how to make that into a one thing is evasive. It's difficult.
A kind of unified theory.
Yeah. It doesn't quite happen. So you always paste a little more here, cut a little more off there, and in the end you say, hey, we have to do it again tomorrow. So that's how it goes.
I want to take people on a little tour of the museum in Vermont, playing a clip again from that film, The Hopeful Pageantry of Bread and Puppet. This is your wife, Elke, giving a tour of the museum in Glover, Vermont.
So this is a Sicilian marionette, and it was in a play about the Crusades. And every night of the year, 365 episodes would be played out in the course of a year, showing the Crusades. The history of puppetry is really very, very ancient and goes back to, I think, the roots of drama, literature. The earliest theaters were probably reenactments of hunts using animal skins and animal masks and using that as magic to try to ensure a good hunt or a good harvest.
By the way, what's the secret to a successful marriage? How long have you and Elke been married?
Oh my God, 55 years.
55
probably.
years. That's
Something like that. Yeah.
way longer than many people have been divorced.
No.
What's the secret?
I don't know. I guess we like each other and we appreciate our together work, and she's so much involved. She's not only my spouse, she's also my censorship office. You know, she's the one who cuts out things that she says no good.
And you agree with her when she says
No, I don't agree. No, we also fight that out. It's agreeing or not agreeing, can be going either way.
so fighting is an important ingredient in a successful
it is.
marriage?
I think so. Probably.
Oh.
No, I'm probably not welcome by my censorship office.
What do you think of the place of older people in society in the United States?
Well, they don't have enough to do. Society doesn't have any place for them, and I don't get it. Why? I mean, when I think of my mother-in-law and other older women who I met in my life, especially women, that they were so unemployed, so unused by society is beyond my comprehension. They are so powerful, they are so able to do things, and society doesn't find a way of bowing to that concentrated power and employing it. It doesn't do it. It discards them. It leaves them out.
What could be done?
Look in older society. There are many societies where older people have automatically a role as being older people with more experience. This doesn't exist in this society. This is a society of youngsters and of pushy, middle-aged characters, and the rest is not so welcome. The kids are not welcome, and the olds are not welcome.
What do you think of retirement, that concept? What does it mean to you?
I don't know I really don't know what it means. Because why? Retire from what? From yourself, or from what?
How do you see young people? You're continually working with all different generations in your artistry and your puppetry. Do you think people are less educated or more educated today, even as they can reach out around the world through, for example, the internet?
They are very definitely less educated. Very definitely their knowledge. When I just think of the kids who come to us, coming from art schools, from colleges, from universities so often, but their knowledge of musics and literatures and arts in the world is minimal, is deploringly small. And a lot of them are with us and work with us because they find that they open doors to various aspects of just that, of musics and of other languages than the one that's educated, that's supposed to be communication, but is so much less.
Finally, what message do you have for young people and older people?
We find the young people who come to us a very encouraging bunch. The desire to participate, the desire to work together, the whole desire for artists to get out of the art education as a solo education for some acrobatic job, but rather to do something together that matches with other people's putting things together. And then, because of this, producing it together becomes more open and bigger. That this is deep and true in young people, and that they are pursuing it just as the, what did they call it, the uprisers, the you know, the people who did
the Occupy movement?
The Occupier movement is not gone. It's just asleep. And that's these people who listen to your news, to the non-existing news that are all over the place, and they have to do something with it. It's not good enough to just analyze it or complain it or what have you. It has to be transformed, has to be put in a grinding bag, ground up, made into something, and then produce with it. So they do that.
Occupy continues to give you hope?
Totally, yeah.
Peter Schumann, I want to thank you for joining us here on Democracy Now!
Thank you, too. Thanks,
Peter
Amy.
Schumann, founder of the legendary Bread and Puppet Theater, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Peter Schumann's first solo museum exhibition is on display now at the Queen's Museum in New York. It's called The Shatterer. The exhibit consists of 2 new large-scale immersive installations created specifically for the museum's new galleries, combining painting, drawing, papier-mâché, sculpture, handmade books. A very special thanks to Karen Ranucci. And that does it for our broadcast. If you'd like a copy of today's show, you can go to our website at democracynow.org. Democracy Now! Has an immediate opening for an on-air graphics designer and CG operator. You can find out more at democracynow.org/jobs. Democracy Now! Is produced by a remarkable band of magicians. Mike Burke and Renee Feltz, Aaron Mate, Nermeen Sheikh, Steve Martinez, Sam Alkoff, Hani Massoud, Robbie Karen, Dina Guzder, Amy Littlefield, Cassandra Lazaire and Messiah Rhodes and Sharina Nadura, Mike DeFilippo and Miguel Noguera are our engineers. Special thanks to Becca Staley, Julie Crosby, Hugh Grand, Jessica Lee, John Wallach, Vesta Godars, Brenda Murad, Neil, as well as Isis Phillips, and a big shout-out to Archon and Esteban and Arthur. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks so much for watching this report from Democracy Now!, your daily, independent, global grassroots news hour. We don't accept advertising or corporate funding, but rather rely on donations from viewers like you. Please make your contribution by visiting democracynow.org today. We need your support today to keep bringing you this hard-hitting, in-depth reporting.